Where deals go to die is almost always a home inspection. So what's the number one mistake a seller can make during the home inspection? Well, we have a team member experiencing this right now with their buyer. She had asked the listing agent to make sure that the seller was out of the home during the inspection. And it's okay if a seller's worried about the house, they can have their agent or the buyer's agent sit there with the inspector, right? But anyway, the seller refused to leave during the inspection, but had told their agent they would leave when the buyer came back for the walkthrough. Well, what happened during the inspection was the seller ran their mouth the whole time. So now the inspector was not as focused as they should have been. The inspector was an hour behind schedule. Now the buyer's having to sit there waiting an extra hour. And then guess what? The seller wouldn't leave during the walkthrough. So now the buyer's trying to do a walkthrough with their inspector and get detailed answers to questions and concerns that came up during the inspection. And you know what? They felt super awkward because the seller's sitting there listening to everything, trying to debate everything. And what does that ultimately lead to? It ultimately puts the buyer in a position where they aren't confident in moving forward because they don't know, well, was the inspector focused enough to give us all the details of the house? And two, they just are left with this icky feeling and they don't know what to do. So folks, if you're selling a house, you need to leave when the inspector comes. If you're not comfortable with the inspector being there alone, make sure that the listing agent or the buyer agent's there. And if you're a listing agent, you need to do your job and make sure to educate your client so they know they should not be there, because otherwise all you're doing is creating a potential huge unnecessary issue. Drop your comments below if you've experienced this or have any thoughts.